Okay, something's happening. It says I'm live. Am I live? Is the chat working? Say something in the chat, people. Are you there? Is everyone here? Okay, hooray. Thank you, Candace. Thank you. I don't know. Doing this class is going to kill me. It's going to kill me. Oh, Lord. Okay. I hope the picture is good because I had to use this live streaming software thingamajiggy that's kind of complicated. And when I look at it, I look not great. The picture doesn't look great. That's why I've avoided using it. But whatever. Whatever. I'm going with it. I'm going with it. So it looks like Candace is here. I thought somebody else, oh yeah, Cassandra Reed showed up, and I think there might be some other people here. So if you're here, hello, welcome, welcome back. Happy spring. Mercury is now direct. So, but it's right on top of Neptune. So we're not out of the woods yet as far as that goes. And I'm just trying to keep this as simple as possible. So maybe it'll work. I don't know. And I wanted to give out a high five to Candace because she did all 78 cards. She did the keywords and short definitions. And some of you others may have done it, and maybe I missed it if you sent it to me. I apologize if I did. But congratulations, kudos to you. Yay, Candace, yay. Okay. So, maybe I think I can screen share on this one. Let me see if I can do it. Yes, it's showing my desktop, so I just need to put my thing over here. Da-da-da. So hopefully everybody can see that because I have now covered up the chat. So, but I wanted to get going on our class for tonight. So real briefly, what I wanted to say was this is class 2 of 6. And so where we are now is we are trying to learn about suits and master the 3-card reading. So there are several objectives for this class, and I just kind of want to remind everyone what the whole point is, what I'm trying to accomplish with you. So the objectives are, 1, to make an intuitive connection with the cards. And so that's why I had the homework for you guys to intuit a simple set of definitions or keywords for each of the 78 cards. Because I'm going to keep harping this point again and again that, that tarot and other divination systems, they're esoteric studies, and you can spend years and years studying esoteric knowledge. And it's not that there is no value in that, but I don't think anybody wants to spend 5 or 10 years before they're able to do a tarot reading. So I'm saying, hey, all of us has intuition. Our intuition speaks to us all the time. We may not be very practiced at listening to it, but we're our intuition is there and we can use it whenever we want to. So we're going to use the tarot cards to connect to our intuition. And then we'll be able to read cards for ourselves and for other people very quickly within a month or two instead of having to wait 5-10 years. Okay, so we've done a little bit with the numbers in the Facebook group. That's why I post a number and then I'm like, hey, what do you associate with this number? And then I put everybody's what they're saying on a sheet. And then by the end of the class, we'll have a sheet with this numbers 1 through 9. And so then once again, that's kind of keywords or short definitions that people have come up with in the class, so that when you see the number 3 and you see the number 3 come up in tarot, you immediately have some association that comes up with it, so you can use it in a reading. And then the last component of a tarot deck is the major arcana or the trumps. And so those are the big overarching themes, all the big archetypal kind of messages and stuff, and we'll get there. I'm going to save that for the last part of the class. So and then there's more objectives. Okay. And then another objective number 3, is to become familiar with the basic spreads and how to create spreads. And then number 4 is practice reading holistically, and that is being able to paint a picture of the overall message of the reading by connecting all the parts into a coherent message. So that's the objectives for this class. So our focus for tonight is to get a sense of the suits and set up and read a 3-card spread. So I'm just going to pop back here and see if are you still there? Okay, I see Candace has been posting. She said I need to do the Facebook group. Okay, so I'm just going to assume that everybody's still here. I'll type in the chat. Are we still here? Did you see the screen share? I can go back to my camera. There I am. Oh. Okay, so are we still here? Do we see the screen share? Okay, Candace says yes. Thank you, Candace. Okay. All right, so let me get back to the presentation. So back to the presentation. Okay, so focus for tonight is to get a sense of the suits, set up and read a 3-card spread. But before I get there, some people sent in some questions, and I wanted to go over that real quick. So Angela was asking about timing, how to do timing. So timing in tarot is tricky, and since I like to do tarot and I like to do astrology, I'll just put it out there that I think astrology is way better for timing than tarot is, but I'm not saying you need to learn astrology to do timing. So if you're going to do timing in a tarot reading, make sure that timing question is in the question or it's in the spread. So like if you're doing a spread and somebody's like, I don't know, like how's my career going to go this year? So if you want to put timing in the spread, what you need to do is you would have spread placements saying like the next 2 months, the next 4 months, the next 6 months, the next 8 months, or something like that, where the actual spread positions have timing in them, if that makes sense. Or the question itself could contain the timing question, but sometimes that comes up later when someone asks about the timing. But like if they want to know, like, is somebody going to call me back? And then you can put a timing on there. Is this whoever I'm asking about? Are they going to call me back in the next week? And that can be, or like, when will so and so call me back? And you can have one placement for this week, next week, 3 months from now, probably not going to call you, that kind of thing. So that's really the easiest, one, because there's so many factors that can happen. Up in the reading may not make sense now, so it's kind of like, it makes it a little pointless to try to project that far. And then number 2, most people aren't going to remember that reading 5 years from now. They're not going to, more than 2 years. 2, 3 months, 6 months, something like that. If you need to do a little bit of a timeline that might go out further, like, that's cool, that's fine. But yeah, so that, and then once again, astrology is better for like your bigger cycles and being able to time out and see those bigger cycles. Astrology is a lot better than tarot is for that kind of thing. And so then I had the question, this is just like an example question, like people will come to you with a question like, will I ever get married? Well, first of all, I would work on that question, because will I ever get married? Well, that's like your whole life. And so, like I said, I don't want to cover the entire span of your life. So I'm like, okay, can we make it, will I get married in the next 6 months? Will I get married in the next year? And then usually when you start saying that, you start getting underneath the question that's really behind the question. Because really the person is probably asking something like, is this guy I'm with ever going to marry me? Am I ever going to meet somebody? There's some other question under will I ever get married? So that's that. So that's the timing. question. And then we had another question, and that was from Florine. And Florine said, I am struggling with something. When you have different meanings associated with a card, how do you know which one applies to the situation or answer the question? Okay, so that is a very good question. So for that, I'm going to use, and let me switch back to me. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to use this book, Tarot for Yourself, Mary Kay Greer. This is one of the very first tarot books I got, except I had a different edition. This is not the original edition that was published in the 80s. This is an updated one. But in the back, she has very, very thorough, extensive tarot definitions. So this is an example where, you know, it's like she tries to cover like just about any possible situation that could come up and the cards, so that you end up with a bunch of stuff. So when you're trying to interpret, you're like, gee, I don't know. I'm not sure. So I think what we'll do for this is, if somebody has an actual question that we can work with, post it in the chat, and then I can pull some cards and answer it for you. And I'll use this book to demonstrate my point. So does somebody have an actual question? Questions? Anybody have a question? I hope the chat didn't freeze. All right, I'm still waiting. I'm going to shuffle cards while somebody comes up with a question, possibly. All right, I am shuffling. All right, am I still live? I hope so. Oh, it says I'm live, but it does say an error occurred. And who knows? Who knows? I could check my phone, but oh, somebody said, okay, Candace, thank you. Will I get married in the next 2 years? Thank you, Candace. And thank you for putting a time frame on there. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's just do one card to illustrate my point. Okay, so you're still looking at me, hopefully, yes. Or will I have more children the next 2 years? Okay. Whichever one. Okay. All right, Candace. Okay, so let's do the married question. Then if we need another one, we'll do the children question, because those are two separate questions. Okay. So will Candace get married in the next 2 years? And I'll just pull one card. Normally I would not do that. I'm not like into just the one card reading too much. But for the purposes of our example, I'm going to switch over one card for will Candace get married in the next 2 years. Okay. So the card I got here is the Knight of Swords, which hopefully you can see that. That's the Knight of Swords. So I'm going to go to the definition in the book. So Knight of Swords. Let me find it. Okay, so Knight of Swords. What it says is focused on making a point, committed to ideas, thoughts, philosophy, using mentality, communication, speaking out, telling people off, assertive and courageous, but headstrong and impatient. And the affirmation is, I defend the right of all to truth and justice. Okay, so my little guidelines, I'm going to pull them up here. Okay, so the question was, will I get married in the next 2 years? So first of all, do not go off on a tangent. So like if you're reading through these possible definitions and something's like, I don't know, it's talking about work or something, like, don't go off on a tangent. Keep to the question that is asked. And then eliminate the obvious mismatches. So if something obviously does not fit, then Just eliminate it. Then you can also ask yourself, what kind of answer do you expect in this position? And then what are the other cards indicating, but we don't have any other cards. And then lastly, which interpretation feels right? So we have focused on making a point, committed to ideas, thoughts, philosophy, using mentality, communication, speaking out, telling people off, assertive and courageous, but headstrong and impatient. So, and then she also has the reverse definitions, which we could bring in, even though we're not reading reversals. So they have out of control, vengeful, recklessly endangers others, or can run out of steam, battle worn, and exhausted. Okay, so really all these definitions are related to like trying to make a point and trying to get others to see your point. So, you know, this is where I might ask, like, is there somebody in the picture? Like, did you kind of give somebody an ultimatum? Because this is kind of like an ultimatum type energy that I'm feeling here. Or it could be this whole thing about speaking up. It's like, okay, so the answer could be like, will you get married in the next 2 years? Okay, well then you're going to have to like put a lot of energy behind that, and you're going to have to really like be really upfront with people that you're dating or that you're in a relationship with or whatever. You're going to have to be like, hey, is this going towards marriage? Because if it's not, I'm going to have to move on. Okay, somebody whose name begins with T. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Looks like Rit or something. The word impatient pops out, which indicates to me that the answer is not in the next 2 years. Okay, good work. Good work. That's a good example of using your intuition along with the definitions and coming up with something. So, okay, so they're saying no, not in the next 2 years. Let me see. So this in these examples of the definitions, they didn't really. They're more universal. So there wasn't anything that just didn't make sense at all. But well, there you go. I'm looking at one that says like spiritual warrior. So okay, so we're talking about marriage. We're not necessarily talking about being a spiritual warrior. So you can just throw that one out. But yes, Tririt, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. I can't read your name. Did a good job of saying, oh yeah, the word impatient pops out. So I'm thinking, no, not going to happen. Okay. All right. So that was that. Let me see if there's anything else for that question that we want to say. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. And I'm going to send you guys a few of these slides just so that you have them and you have the information on the slides. Okay, so now on to the next part here where I want to talk about the suits. Let's get to the suits. Okay, so the suits, if you don't know, in tarot are wands, cups, swords, and pentacles, and they correspond directly to the 4 elements, which are earth, air, fire, and water. So wands are fire, cups are water, swords are air, and pentacles or coins are earth. Okay, so that's the 4 elements. The 4 elements go way back to the times of the Greek, probably even before that. They've been around. Those are the building blocks of the world that we live in, are the 4 elements. So I'm going to read you a little story. This was written by a 6th grader. Let me get this open here. Hang on just a second. And it's a little story about the 4 elements, but it just illustrates how you may think that you don't really understand the 4 elements or the 4 suits of the tarot, but you actually do, because like I said, it's the building blocks of the world that we live in. And so we're so might help people. Okay, saying high CPU usage, of course. Okay, I don't know if everybody can see that, because like on my screen that looks awful. I mean, I do not know what that looks like to you. It looks terrible on my screen. Okay, so the four elements. The four elements: wind, earth, fire, and water. They have their beauties and their terrors. Wind, the breeze that it blows on a hot day cools us down. Feel the breeze in your hair. See the grass sway to and fro. Hear the whisper that it makes. Then it starts to blow, harder and harder, harder by the second. In less than a blink of an eye, a tornado forms in the distance, its funnel growing towards the ground with winds blowing up to 300 kilometers per hour. The bits of metal, bark, and wood being sucked up. Then, next to the tornado, a cyclone arrives, like a whirlpool in the sky, flinging bricks, trees, and cars miles away. The wind has gotten angry. Water, the refreshment it brings once drunk on a hot summer's day. Listen to it singing a tune. See the ripples that it makes. Taste the flavor of something natural. Then the ripples start to grow, growing larger and larger, eventually large enough to be a tsunami. The crash. The giant wave is flooding the huge city, taking memorabilia and valuables kilometers away. People are being washed away and are in terrible danger. The water has gotten angry. Earth, the safety that it creates when we stand on it. Feel the coarseness of your bare foot. Listen to it sleeping silently. See the loose dirt rolling all along the earth. All of a sudden, the dirt starts to shake violently. It starts bouncing like a ball. The buildings are shaking as well. A crack has formed in the ground, growing longer and wider. An earthquake has occurred. Then the rocks on top of the cliff start to roll down the edge, followed by a trail of mud and dirt. A mudslide has joined the party. The earth has gotten angry. Fire, the relief it brings on a cold winter's night. Hear it laugh as we tell stories to one another. Feel the warmth up your body. See different colors that it makes. Then it laughs louder, loud enough to be a roar. It springs from the firewood and onto the trees. It's spreading very fast. Trees are collapsing and the millions of leaves being turned into ashes. A brush fire has started. Then boom, the volcano erupts. Hot molten rock jumping over rocky edges, sliding towards the city. The fire has gotten angry. Then a tornado appears once again. So has the cyclone. The earthquake and the mudslide have joined them, and so have the brush fire and the molten rock. The tsunami and the flood are impatient and eager to destroy the city. The city is in despair. They can't afford this destruction that awaits them, but the elements show no mercy. Then they attack. Wind, then water, earth, and then fire are getting their revenge one by one. The residents can do nothing but run and watch the destruction. Together, the four elements make an invincible team. All right. So, that was a good story. I think it illustrates all the four elements, and that child that wrote that did a good job of showing kind of like the positive and the negative dimensions of each of the four elements. So let's go on. Okay, and then we see the four elements in language all the time. Like we say things all the time that illustrate it. Like someone has a fiery personality, or we say go with the flow, or we say somebody is the salt of the earth, or they're sharp tongued. We say that all the time. So once again, I just want to illustrate that it's part of our everyday life. You just need to start paying more attention to it. Okay. So I don't know. I'm seeing a very weird view over here of the slides. It's like something's happening all the time. Maybe if I do this. No, that's not it. Try it. Okay, that's better. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the elements. So we have fire, which, like I said, corresponds to wands, and that's a male element. So fire and air are male elements, and what I mean by male is that it's an active outward kind of energy, where female is a more inward receptive energy. That's all it means. It's like in these days of all kinds of mixed genders and gender neutral and gender transitional, don't go there. Just go with outward or inward energy for the male female thing. I was taking a drink. Okay, so the wands are about passion, inspiration. They're connective because each gender has a connecting suit and a separating suit. So for the male energy, the connecting suit is the wands. The wands are about activity. They're fast. Like if you want to say like fast or slow, they're fast or slow. They can lead to burnout because the energy is so fast and it's like go, 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 and then shoo, all the energy's gone and you've got nothing, you're burnt out. They're spiritual seeking to a certain extent, and they're about growth. So that's the wands. Then we have the cups. So the cups is a female energy. So like I said, that's a receptive energy. That's a reflective energy. Cups have to do with emotions. Like, in that other slide I had like go with the flow. So that just kind of means like, just go with your emotions. Go with what you feel. The emotions flow like water flows. And as was illustrated in that boy's story and kind of in this picture, water can be real active like it is here on the volcano, or not the volcano, the waterfall, or it can be more calm as it is in a pool. It can be a raging ocean. It can be a little happy stream. So all of these elements have different ways they may show up. Water it's psychic energy because that's kind of like that connection energy ends up being kind of psychic energy. So like when you're making a lot of interior connections, that's psychic energy, and you're connecting with the outside like through the inside. Cups are about good times on the one hand, and on the negative side, it can be about being overwhelmed. Like you have all these emotions and stuff, and you're overwhelmed by them. Okay, moving on to air. So air corresponds to the swords in the tarot, and this is once again a male suit. Now in tarot, the suit that contains like the most problems, or that's the most problematic. If you lay out all of your swords cards, like you might be like, oh, they're all terrible. So that's just the way it works, is that the sword suit ends up kind of like depicting all the problems, because things you need to make decisions around things. So usually if everything's great and everything's hunky-dory and stuff, you're usually not making a lot of hard decisions. So but when things are not going right, that's when you have to make some hard decisions. Now this is one of the separating energies, because remember I talked about with the wands are the male connecting energy, and the cups are the female connecting energy. The swords are the male separating energy. So, and that's because of that decision point, and that's like what the swords do, is they cut through things, they cut off things. And that's because you have to separate in order to do that. So you have to like go, okay, this is either good or this is bad. This is a yes or this is a no. This is a keep, this is a throwaway. That's what all that sword energy is about. And it's about perspective. So because it's like when you're making decisions, you're like, oh, well, I can see it from the other person's point of view. And I can see it from my point of view, and I can see it from some other third person, like across the street's point of view. You know, that's all that sword kind of energy. And then you have to make, like I said, you have to separate things out into their compartments based on that perspective. And a lot of times that requires you to be objective. You know, you have to kind of back up out of the situation and be able to look at it from high above. Once again, the kind of that air idea again, where you're up in the sky, you're looking down, you're like, oh yeah, I can see that. That's that part of the neighborhood, and that's the other part of the neighborhood, and you know what I mean. And that's all what that sword energy is. And then it's also connected with writing. So, and I don't really see that much of an obvious connection, other than usually you get perspective like through writing, or you can communicate perspective through writing, or you can try to convince other people of your perspective through writing. So that's the swords. And then the last element we have is earth, which is pentacles. And that is the female separating energy. So that's kind of like, you know, it's like the earth can separate you in that it's like you could be separated by distance across the earth, or just because the earth is the most concrete element. It's like it's the mundane, the day to day. It's everything that we can touch and feel and know is solid. So that's what separates everything into nouns. Like, that's a table, that's a tree, that's a bird, that's my house, that's a car. You know, so that's what pentacles is, and that's how that's separating, because it's separating everything out into nouns of everything, all, you know, the whole myriad of things that are on this earth. And so for that reason, it's like it's the earth that supports us, that gives us life, because that's how we get food. So then earth and pentacles are about resources and money. And how do you get resources and money? Most people get it through employment. And so how do you get resources and money? You get it through hard work. And so, like I said, the earth element and the pentacles are about, prosperity and abundance, and what you have and what you don't have, and the resources you have and the resources you want, all that kind of stuff. And then as far as like a speed, earth is slow. So fire is fast and earth is slow. And then cups and swords are in the middle, somewhere in the middle. So that's that part of the four elements. Let me go back and see if there's any questions or comments. All right. So is anybody? All right. Well, we do have some comments and questions. Okay. Amy says we are made of water. We need it to survive. We need air to breathe. Air comes in and out of our bodies, lungs. Earth is the plane we live in, the physical realm. And fire is the sun that gives us life. Yes, thank you, Amy. So that's why I say, it's like we have an understanding. It's not like this is a completely foreign concept. Like, we don't know what earth, air, fire, and water are. We do. We have a very, because we live in it. Like I said, we live in it every day. Trurit says water, riding high, seas, good times, or drowning, overwhelmed. Perfect. Yes, very much. And also, please send us these 4 screens. I find them helpful. Okay, yes, as long as you're signed up for the online tarot class, you will get them in the email. I can post the link to that to sign up. I'll remind me before the end in case somebody here doesn't have it. Okay. All right. So good. It's so far so good. All right. So let's go back to the screen share, because I've got some more to say about the 4 elements. Okay. So here we have earth, air, fire, water, and then we also have the kind of the temperatures of hot, cold, and wet and dry. And so I kind of touched on that a little bit in the other discussions, but I'm just going to show you another thing that we're very familiar with, which is created from the 4 elements, earth, air, fire, and water, and that is the wheel of the year, right? So we know spring, summer, winter, fall. We have all of that. So here we have our elements of earth, fire, water, air, and then this is the hot, dry, cold, wet inside of the earth, air, fire, water. So air is hot and wet, water is cold and wet, earth is cold and dry, fire is hot and dry. So this is how you can see how that earth is separating because it's cold. It's cold and it's kind of separating. You know, and the fire, the water is cold and wet. So the wet brings things together, but it does have that cold element where you can get bogged down in it. So just these are one of the things, like these are the esoteric teachings where you can go really, really deep, but just having a good working understanding is all we're trying to do right now, and you know, and just go from there, and then study to your heart's content. You know, go for it. So here we're talking about the masculine and the feminine, you know, and how it all goes together. And then here we have it with the directions. So like water is the west, air is the east, earth is the north, fire is the south. And so, I mean, that makes sense. And we have summer, spring, winter, fall. So that, you know, this is where we start building. Like I said, we start building this 4 seasons and the quadrants, and then that's where we start overlapping with astrology. But I just wanted to point that out. Like this one has spring as childhood, winter as old age, summer as youth, autumn as maturity. You know, we have all these concepts of the wheel of the year. And we can even talk about the pagan wheel of the year with the solstices and the cross-border days and all that, but we're not going to get into that right now. But like I said, that's all there. So like I'm just trying to open a little door for you, and all you have to do is like have a good basic understanding of the 4 elements, which I argue you already do have, and then you can step through the door and like go chase whatever piece of that you want to add to your knowledge. Okay, so all right, so let's get to the 3-card reading. So this is one of the standard tarot readings. I mean, you just see it everywhere, the 3-card reading. And what's nice about it is it's completely versatile, and you can adapt it to any situation that you need to adapt it to. So you have like past, present, future. That's the way you see it a lot of times. You could do it as pros, cons, and advice. You could do it as what I know, what I don't know, what the advice is. You could do today, next week, next month. So you can just pick any, have any question and set it up with 3 that make the most sense. So what I wanted to show you with the reading for the suits is, once again, we'll deal with actual questions. Let me get back to me. Yeah, we'll deal with actual questions, and then I'll show you how you don't even necessarily have to look at the card and the meaning, but you can look at the suits. So Candace had, will I have more children in the next 2 years? So let me shuffle and pull for that. So okay, so will I have more children in the next 2 years? I'm trying to think how I want to set that up as a 3-card. All right, so we can do, let's do a past, present, future on that. So will Candace have more children in the next 2 years? Okay, so past, present, future. So all right, so this This is the card of the past, and of course we get a major arcana. We don't get a suit. Maybe I should have just pulled the suits out. But anyway, in the past we have the Sun card. But you know, we could just say the Sun in this case is like fire or wands, right? Okay, so we have that, and then the present we have. What do we have? Oh gosh, cards. You just have to do this to me, don't you? Okay, let me just pull till I get a here we go. All right, so the past is a wands. The present is another wands. So we've got the 6 and the 3. And then we have the 10 of cups. Okay. So for the past, we have fiery. So looking at the suit, the wands they're fast and they're young, and they might even be a little bit impulsive. So like I would guess that you started having children when you were young. In the present, you're still young, and so you still have a lot of fire, and you still have a lot of enthusiasm. You know what I mean? And so if I would feel like you probably still want children. And in the future, you have, let me pull the right one, we have the 10 of cups. So we have, the cups are a connective card. They're a flowing card. They're a card of relationships. So I would say, without even, like I said, without even dealing with any of the numbers or anything like that, I would say that yes, you could have children in the future, and I think it's going to be more of an emotional thing. I feel like the children you've had up to this point, like I said, with that fire, it's kind of like things happen and they happen fast, and maybe you're young and impulsive, and it's just like boom boom. I just had I had kids and I just dealt with it, and that was that. So when you have another child, it'll be more of an emotional. You'll have more time to sit with the emotions of the whole thing. That's how I would read that. And I don't know if anybody else wants to make a comment or anything else about that. So let's try another one that's like. Let me see. Okay, so Amy says, can I ask a question? If you do another spread, will I have a significant romantic relationship in this year, 2019? Okay, all right. So we're going to use Amy's question of will you have a significant romantic relationship this year in 2019? Let me shuffle again. So we'll do past, present, future again. And so we'll see what comes up in present to answer the question. Candace has said, you're right, I had my children back to back. So there you go. That's what it felt, with the wands, that's what it feels real fast, like boom, boom, boom. It's just things happen and you're like, okay, I'm going with it. Here we go. It's like, this is fun, okay. All right, so for Amy, significant romantic relationship this year, past, present, future. And I'll just do the same thing, like if I pull a major arcana, I'm just going to skip it and wait till I get a suit. All right, so, but we did get, okay, so this is the past. So we have the Page of Cups. So, with the cups, I would say there was a relationship in the past, and I'm not going to look at the page. I'm not going to look at anything. I'm just going to say, okay, so past there was a relationship. In the present, we have the swords. So this is where we talked about like decisions need to be made when there's swords. So, and even if you just even look at that card, the swords card has the swords are crossed and it's an X. So it's like a crossroads, because that's what I invited you to do on some of the other exercises too, is just actually look at the card and see what's in the card. So I mean, it's like we're seeing X, so it's like, okay, it's like we're at a crossroads, you know, and the swords are about a decision to be made. And then for this year, it looks like you have a decision to make. And then for the future, you have pentacles. So I would say, reading this, did I put this in I put this in the wrong place. Sorry, it's kind of backwards for me. Okay, so we started out with cups, which said, yeah, there was a relationship. And we're here in the present, and I'm reading that as 2019 as the present. And it's like, yeah, you know what? There's a decision to be made. It's probably about this relationship, but it might not be. But there's a decision to be made. And so then the future, we have the pentacles. So remember, I said pentacles are slow. So it looks like if there's another relationship, it's like it's going to be slow and coming, and there's going to be work that's going to be necessary. Because I don't think I mentioned that with the pentacles. Well, I kind of did with the employment work, but it's just the pentacles. It's like you have to work to materialize things around pentacles. So it's like there's work to be done. The future holds work to be done before there's another relationship. So we have more comments. Tirit says, 10 of Cups indicates the fullness and emotional fulfillment, connectedness. So I'm getting is, regardless of whether you have more children, you'll be happy, and you will be happy and not feel that. Oh, there's more. Okay. Anything is missing or lacking. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. All right. So are you guys are you kind of getting a feel to how to just use the suits it's like you can just, based on the suits, you can be answering questions without even looking at the numbers or anything else. You can just go, okay, that's something real fiery and passionate, or like that's something that's going to take a lot of time, or that's something that you got to put a lot of effort into, or that's something that may come easily. Like with the cups, the cups are things that could come easily. Okay, Candace says yes. Okay. All right, so I didn't want to move on without having that be clear. Okay, so let me see what I got up next on the slideshow. Okay, all right, so I have, for the homework, do the suits worksheets, contemplate the suits, watch how they show up in your everyday life, and start playing with the 3-card spread. Ask questions and post the results in the Facebook group. So you now have 2 resources to be able to do questions. You can put those in your journals, or however you want to do it. Or like I said, if you want to post on Facebook, that's great. So your 2 resources are the keywords that you came up with for the 78 cards, and with what you know about suits. Just read it across with suits. Like if the 7 of Swords comes up and you're like, I'm not really sure, I don't know. Well, what do the swords in general mean? You know, what do the pentacles in general mean? What do all these things in general mean? And you'd be surprised how much you can get out of looking at just the suits. Now, the homework, I'm a little bit behind. I'll try to get it out. Maybe I can get it out tonight. But I'm kind of thinking I'm not getting it out tonight. But I'll try to get it out early this week. And I'm definitely sending out the slides. And that reminds me, I need to post the link in case people don't have it, to how to sign up for to be on the class mailing list. So let me find, where's the best place for me to get it from? Yes, it's right. Sign up for the email list if you're not on the email list, and that'll tell you how to get in the Facebook page if you're not in the Facebook page, and and all that, and then you'll get all the homework and the handouts. So, all right. So Candace says, so what about middle with the wands being fast, the pentacles being slow, the cups and swords are in the middle, and that was something I was going to mention. Oh no, no, what? Okay, now I'm getting a weird warning. All right, whatever. I'm just going to go back to me. Okay. I was going to mention with the timing thing, like a lot of times you hear that like the wands are days and the cups are months and the pentacles are years or whatever. And I think of it more of a relative. It's like relative to each other. So like I said, relative weeks or whatever. And it just didn't, I don't know. It just didn't work for me. So I just look at it as a more of a relative kind of thing. Is it like Sue's timing question? You can always just go, okay, let's do another little mini reading here on the side for the timing. And so you can be like, okay, like, is this going to happen in the next week, in the next month, in the next year? And you can lay 3 cards for that and see what comes up, or however you want to structure it. But yeah, so that's it. I appreciate everybody. Yay! Thank you for showing up and putting up with my technical difficulties. Someday I'll get it right. I'm just committed to showing up every week, or not every week, every other week, and just seeing if I can make this thing happen and if I can help some people out. So be looking for the homework. Like I said, it might not come right away. It might be in the next couple days, but I'll get it out to you, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.